A side, B side, what side are you on?
Hello. Welcome back to the A Side, B Side podcast. You'll notice that one of us is a little bit under the weather today. Brooke has got the throat
you don't
voice.
feel well? What's wrong? No, I'm kidding.
I mean, I feel fine. I'm just old. So I've noticed that bruises take longer to heal and little cuts take longer to heal. So I'm definitely starting to get old. But you have the Midwestern head cold that's been bouncing all around.
Yes, and it has hit me pretty. I went from a cold to a sinus infection.
Oof. Did they at least give you some good meds?
No, I've just been taking Dayquil, NyQuil, missing ibuprofen, and everything over the counter.
Yeah, so this episode will be sponsored by your local drugstore.
Yes,
because you spent Walgreens has spent, you got a pretty penny that went to Walgreens in the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So with all this downtime, have you? We've been off for this almost 3 weeks now, with the holidays and then the sickness. So I feel like we have a lot to catch up on, but that's really hard for you to do when it's hard to talk.
So we'll save all the juicy. I mean, we'll hit the juicy stuff and save the boring stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say my boring stuff is I went on a trip and nothing bad happened. So that was good last year for at least like 2 segments of my trip adventures, and this one was completely normal somehow.
We call a redo then.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I'm trying to again in 2 months, so we'll see if March does any worse. But it was weird because I was at the airport when all of the Southwest stuff was going down, and so I was convinced that, like, okay, this something's going to happen this trip. We're at the airport. It's like 5:30 in the morning on the day after Christmas. It was like a sequel to that Ben Folds song, and not same subject matter, obviously. But we're there at 5:30 in the morning, waiting in line for our flight, and it's packed. And we hear one gate over, Delta is offering each individual $800 worth of Visa gift cards if they will bump not a day, just to the next flight later that day, because they were so overbooked. So they were going to like Orlando or Miami or something, somewhere in Florida, opposite direction of where the kids and I were going to Arizona. But I didn't turn them, and I go, on the way back, if they offer us money, I'm going to send you guys ahead and I'm going to stand behind. I mean, they're 16 and 18. They fly, like, they'd be fine. But I'm like, we'd have a better Christmas if we just get an extra $800 for no reason. But even with all the cancellations, no one offered me a gift card. So I was very disappointed.
Wow.
But it was a very fun trip to Arizona, but kind of boring overall.
That's why I said we do. Yeah, do it again.
We do.
Get a story.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Do it again in March and see if I can, set off some hospital alarms or something. My favorite, I was in a hospital in Toronto, Canada one time on choir tour because one of our people got sick, and I leaned against the wrong wall and set off the dangerous patient alarm.
Oh my.
So within about 30 seconds, after I hit the alarm, which was a silent alarm, so I had no idea, guys with guns come running into the room.
Oh my.
And they're all looking at me like, who's the dangerous patient? I'm like, we're not dangerous, I swear, we're Americans. I just don't know where to stand. Yeah, so I'll try to do something like that on the next trip so we get some good content. There has been a lot to watch. We just had like the Golden Globes and all the end of the year stuff. Today or yesterday was the finale of Willow. And I felt like they rushed to the end a little too much. The last 2 episodes felt really rushed in a way, especially the last one. Of course, they've set it up for a sequel, but I think overall, it was a worthwhile, new chapter in the Willow lore. And spoiler alert, I was going in wondering very, very much if Mad Mardigan would make an appearance, and he does not, in my experience. So I was kind of bummed out. Christian Slater does, just inexplicably, for one episode, which they were just like, hey, we're going to throw a curveball your way, bring this other guy from the early 90s that you love into the film just completely out of the blue, and have him like You could tell he was on set for like 2 days. He was not in much of the show, but that was a nice little surprise. I've held off watching the rest of Tulsa King because I want to binge the last few episodes because we are now at the end of season one. So that's been fun. Have you been rehabilitating with anything? What do you have, like a chicken soup show that you watch?
I started a show called Kaleidoscope,
Ooh.
a heist show with Giancarlo Esposito. And the
Oh,
cool thing about it is there's 8 or 10 episodes, but they're all named after different colors. And
huh.
every person that logs in probably gets a different viewing order.
Oh,
You don't have to watch them in chronological order. You can watch them in any order. The only rule they say is that you have to watch episode White last.
White has to be last.
Yeah.
Well, then this is on. Is this on Netflix or?
This is on Netflix. So I've
It's on
watched
Netflix.
Green. What episodes are so like it's basically a heist 25 years in the making.
Oh wow.
So every episode is a different period of time leading up to the heist. So I'm assuming White will be the heist. So like I
Right.
went green, yellow, blue, violet, and I'm on orange. But you might log on and get orange, yellow, green, violet, whatever.
Oh, interesting. That's kind
Yeah.
of cool. Something different at least.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then of course, Giancarlo Esposito's always amazing.
Yeah, I love the rumor that there are, some thought or people that are pushing, or it's been, a Marvel universe rumor that he might be considered for Professor X. That'd
Oh,
be kind of cool.
that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be I would be excited to see that because it would be a very different take than Patrick Stewart or even James McAvoy.
Yeah, I
So that could be a lot of fun.
I like Jeffrey Wright too. I think he would be another good option.
What did I just watch? Oh, I finally saw the Batman on the plane, the Robert Pattinson,
Oh
and
yeah,
he plays Jim Gordon in that. It was very good.
yeah.
It didn't feel like a Batman movie. It
No,
felt like an action movie, but it was almost like they went too far with trying to make it, realistic.
yeah,
Like the Penguin is literally just a guy in a tux.
right. In a club.
Yeah, at a club, and the Riddler was a very different take on it. I thought it was very interesting, but I read it much like one of my favorite things that comics would do was the what if comics, or like I think DC had this whole line called Elseworlds where they like, they were made up what if sort of worlds, but it was like what if the X-Men were happening in, or the Justice League, Batman, Superman, they were all in like the 1930s instead of modern times and stuff like that. So it very much felt like a one-off Elsewhere's, what if type of story, and that was enjoyable. But he was great in that as well.
It
Thank you for
kind of
reminding me.
reminded me of like a modern day Dick Tracy almost.
Yeah, yeah. It was a very different vibe, and I think it was also because I was on a plane, but it
Mhm.
felt like, I guess I've also read this, is that it's a very just visually dark movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard to see a lot of the stuff, and then I hear I'm on a plane in this little 6-inch screen with people walking by and bouncing around and lights getting turned on and off, and then every time I like look up I can see like 10 other screens and I get distracted. So I think I should rewatch it at home with the big TV because it'll be a different experience, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, this week we're going to do things a little bit different since I
Yes.
obviously cannot do a full B side.
So we will be doing a very special version of the A side and taking one of my favorite segments, the that guy from that show or that gal from that show, and but looking at it a little differently. And this is a tribute episode, and we are now in that classic end of the year, January time when everybody's doing their best of lists and their in remembrance lists, and everybody's got their Spotify wrapped, and we're kind of just like looking back over the last 12 months. And when I was doing that, I realized that there are so many people that have passed away in the last year. One I had one list from Entertainment Weekly, which will be up on our website. Also, all of our sources, all my sources will be up there on our website as well. And again, Brooke, thank you so much for creating the website and doing all the work on that, because I have now reached the point we've done so many episodes, I forget what we've done.
Mhm.
And I start researching something and I'm like, wait a second, did I already do this? And then I go to the website, go and read through the synopsises of all of our previous episodes. So if you've never done that, uh, check that out. Brooke put a lot of hard work in there, and it saved me from doing the same thing twice a couple of times. But so we're going to look back at some of the celebrities that we lost in 2022 that honestly I had not even heard of. Not these aren't going to be your big names. It's not going to be the Aaron Carters or the Barbara Walters or even Bob Saget. These are more folks that I completely missed the announcement that they had passed, or they're just not a big enough name that it was widely reported. So we've got this is a selected list, but as I said, there are much larger and comprehensive lists that'll be on our website. The Entertainment Weekly one, it does a really nice little write up on every single person. They had 233 of them, which was kind of amazing. So you could really lose some time in there. But here are a few that I picked out that caught my eye, surprised me, or I specifically wanted to talk about, even though I think we've talked about one of them before already. But leading off, a gentleman that passed away just a couple weeks ago, right before Christmas, was responsible for one of my favorite 90s like jazz, techno, pop, electronica groups, and that was Maxi Jazz, who was the DJ and lead singer of the electronic dance group Faithless. He passed away peacefully in his sleep right around Christmas. Of course, Faithless was a huge band in England, but not as big here. But they have a couple of just amazing pieces, and one of which is called "God is a DJ." And it has this amazing opening because Maxi Jazz has this deep, just sultry, like powerful voice, and he's kind of speaking to you almost. It almost feels like you're in like a sermon because they're talking about how the club is his church and God is a DJ. It's a beautiful song. It is so good, and you can find it on all the Spotify, Apple Music, any of those services. If you've never listened to it, give it some time. It is definitely that electronic dance thing, but it is a song that I put on often just when I need to change my mood or reset. And it's really, really beautiful, but also can kind of get you out of bed. So remembering Maxi Jazz, the lead singer of Faithless. Sticking in England, a gentleman who was a filmmaker whose name I did not even know before I read his biography, but I highlighted him because he created one of my favorite sort of crime action films that doesn't get as much notice. It was even remade with Sylvester Stallone, I think about 12 years ago in the early 2000s, late, aughts. And that is Mike Hodges, who was, he was involved with Flash Gordon, but the big movie that caught my eye was 1971's Get Carter, which is a very violent action movie about crime in England, but stars Michael Caine, who at this point, when I in my entire life I've only seen his older roles, where he's Scrooge in the Muppet Christmas Carol, or he's the butler Alfred in the Christian Bale Batman movies. He is a violent bad dude getting revenge for something that's happened to a friend of his, and it is so well done. It is available on a lot of the streaming services, but it's an older movie, so it's not as readily available as you might think. But Hodges actually was also involved in directing one of my favorite movies from the 90s, which is the name I always say incorrectly, but it's Croupier, Croupier, which was sort of a crime gambling, hard luck sort of thing, which was highly reviewed, and I was nominated for some awards if I remember. So it's kind of got a Bond vibe to it, but just a little bit more of the street level crime and gambling in that that sort of thing. So Mike Hodges, the director of Get Carter and Croupier. Another name that I had never known, even though I know every word to a song that she has written. The singer-songwriter Shirley Ikard, who penned the Grammy-winning 1991 hit "Something to Talk About," which, whether you think you know the words to that song, I guarantee you now that song is running through your head, and you know way more of them than you would ever suspect. It is yeah, it's a great karaoke song, and if I've always said if I could have like one really amazing thing creation in my life would be like like Evan Peters. They've talked about how he's in the Dahmer show and how he's winning all these awards, but it's going to be hard for anyone to see him not as that, and he might be typecast. And my brain's like, man, if you do something that good and you win awards for it, then at least you put it out there. Because,
right.
Not everybody gets to have that many magic moments. But Shirley Eckert had the Grammy Award-winning single "Something to Talk About," which was, of course, performed by Bonnie Raitt. She passed away in early December due to complications from cancer. She was only 67, which I am now at the point when I am 42. 67 feels real close.
Yeah.
So these numbers are starting to get a little scary. But she was inducted to the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2020, and she wrote for musicians like Bonnie Raitt, Cher, and Marie, and actually released 18 albums, and in fact just released one in 2021. So that is a lot of creation. Another individual that I grew up watching and loving, and he was one of my favorite sidekicks in several shows, who I did not even realize had passed away, was Clarence Gilliard Jr., who you would know from, he was Theo, the tech guy in the original Die Hard. He was Sundown Williams in the original Top Gun. But I knew him most as the sidekick to either Matlock or Walker, Texas Ranger. In Matlock, he played Conrad McMasters, and he was sort of the investigator, because to be fair, Andy Griffith ain't going out there and like breaking into people's houses or interviewing people or chasing anybody. He stays in the courtroom. So Conrad McMasters had to do all the dirty work to get all the information so Matlock could put people away. And he only lost one case ever?
No way.
Yeah, Matlock only lost one case ever, and it's because he realized that his client was guilty while they were on the stand, and he like
so he threw the case basically.
He threw the case to do the right thing, the eyes of justice. So that sort of thing I'm sure would get you disbarred at this point in reality, but it's a pretty cool 90s bit of trivia. He also played Ranger Jimmy Trevette on Walker, Texas Ranger. So again, doing all the dirty work when Chuck Norris is just waiting around to roundhouse kick somebody and wear the hat. So Clarence Gilliard passed away just after Thanksgiving on November 28th. I bring this next gentleman up because he actually inspired my favorite cover band of all time. In the Twin Cities, there has been a rock outfit that covers Metallica songs, but dresses as the comedian Gallagher and breaks things on stage. And they are called McGallagher.
Oh my gosh.
Brilliant. I did not realize that Gallagher had passed away. He passed away in Palm Springs, California on November 11th. He was 76. At one point in his career, of course, Gallagher became known as, the Wizard of Odd, the sort of over-the-top comedy. He would appear on, I think his first appearance was on Johnny Carson in like the late 1975, mid 70s. And he would constantly be touring. The man was doing up to 100 dates a year. So one every like 3.5 days for tons of years, and destroyed over 15,000 melons using his sledgehammer of choice, the Sledge-O-Matic. And of course, he is portrayed in a film that I still have not watched because I was very excited about it. Then everything happened, and the life is marched on, and I missed it. Weird, the Al Yankovic story, which of course stars Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al, and is completely made up. Paul F. Tompkins evidently plays Gallagher in the film as well. So now there's even another reason that I should check that out. Yes. A couple more here, and like I said, there was over 200 plus on the Entertainment Weekly article, a lot more on other articles. So we only picked a few to kind of highlight, but check out those links because there are every single person on those lists has a very interesting story. It was a crazy bad year for drummers. We lost like 6 high profile drummers. I did not realize that. I knew about Taylor Hawkins. I knew about the guy from Modest Mouse that just happened last week. But wow, yeah, it was a lot. There were several other drummers on there, so rough year to be a drummer. However, on a completely different note, another person who passed this year was one of my favorite actors to have ever portrayed Batman, but he's also one of the most unique, and that for the vast majority of his career, he was only the voice of Batman on shows like Batman the Animated Series, which went from 92 to 96. There were a bunch of other Batman movies. There were 24 video games that he played Batman in. That is, of course, Kevin Conroy, who finally got to play Bruce Wayne as himself in a live action moment during the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, which dealt with The Flash and Arrow and Supergirl all in that story as well. And he got to play Bruce Wayne in one of the versions of Bruce Wayne, which had to be pretty cool for him after all those years of just being the voice to truly embody it. But for so many kids, like for me, Batman Returns was the ultimate Batman movie, but I wanted to see Batman Returns because I was watching Batman the Animated Series when I was a kid, and it was some of the best. Just you can sit down and watch that and Gargoyles as an adult and just have an enjoyable time, and they're compelling stories and it's well done. Without that, I don't think we would have had the last 30 years of Batman success in the same way, because there are so many kids who, even if they weren't comic book fans, they saw the cartoon and it became so ingrained in our society. So would not have been possible likely without Kevin Conroy. And then finally, and you'll have to tell me, Brooke, if I have already mentioned this gentleman, because I feel like I have. I might have even done a whole episode on him, but he had to be included because he is one of my favorite that guy from that shows, and it's only because I've seen him in one single show and in one practically perfect scene from the show New Girl. And I found the scene on YouTube. It'll be up on our website. It is about 3 minutes long, but it is a study in acting and how to give back to your co-star, even when you don't have a line.
An episode on him.
I'm pretty sure I did. Of course, we're talking about Ralph Ahn, who is a character actor best known for portraying the largely silent but ever insightful Tramp on New Girl, who passed away last February. And I'm pretty sure if you go back on our website to one of those episodes in early March, there's an entire episode dedicated to Mr. Ahn's background and history and where he came from. But it was one of those things where I kind of forgot that he had passed away because February of last year seems so long ago. Even though it's only been 11 months. But he passed away February 26th at 95, which is easily the most time on the board in this entire list. So he, of course, was remembered by his co-star Jake Johnson, who plays Nick Miller on New Girl, and it's just the two of them in that scene. And Jake Johnson was quoted as saying, he gave so much with literally no lines. And I've showed my kids because one of them is very into theater. The other one is, arts adjacent as well. And it's an amazing scene of being able to give something back, be completely in the scene, and how important it is to be there and be present, and how you have so many more tools than just your voice, which is ironic because that is the one tool that Brooke does not have. Because of the sickness, but it's definitely worth watching. Takes 3 minutes. Highly recommend it. So those were a few of the people that I wanted to highlight from 2022. There are so many more, like I said, on the list, but in the very least, this gave you 4, if not 5, action points. 1, go listen to "God Is a DJ" by Faithless. 2, go see "Get Carter" starring Michael Caine and be shocked at the pure violence and how good he is at portraying it. You're already thinking about something to talk about in your head right now. It's going to be stuck with you probably for days. Clarence Gilliard gives you a lot of options. You could watch Top Gun. He was in Chips. I forgot to mention that. But of course, my favorite would probably be Conrad Masters and Matlock, or Walker Texas Rangers sidekick Jimmy Trevette. Gallagher, I think you'll probably find some of his stuff on YouTube, but it's just never going to be the same with you're not wearing plastic and melon is flying at your head. So it's very unique. Hopefully, Gallagher will have a concert here just before too long, and I can celebrate him. Watch Batman the Animated Series, and also check out the clip from New Girl with Tran and Miller. All of those will be all of our links will be available on our website. And if you've got more, if there's somebody on the list that you think I should have highlighted more so, or that I might have missed, there was a lot of names and a lot of pictures. Just like somebody like Coolio. I totally forgot Coolio had passed away. And of course, we talked about Angela Lansbury, but there's just so many people. And I think I've gotten to the point now as I've gotten older where it's less where I'm, it's sad when anyone passes away, but it's always amazing to see and read their stories and see all the creative things that they put into the world, and then kind of rediscover them again. So try to look at it that way instead of the sadness. But if there's somebody I missed, shoot me a message. Check out our website, A-Side, B-Side podcast.square.site. There you can subscribe to us on all of your favorite listening devices. We've got merch on there as well. I just picked up some coffee cups that are on the website. They arrived. Very interestingly, I bought 4 coffee cups. 2 have arrived. That every one of them has come in a separate package.
Really?
Yeah, they're all like the individual, like very well packed. Like they're like good shape, but they all came in their little boxes, just mug-sized boxes, which kind of thought it was funny. So I walking out of the mail room with 2 boxes. I'm like, there's more coming. But that was kind of cool. They got the merchandise on there you can check out. Like I said, all of our links, all of our old episodes. So if you want to do a deep dive into Ralph Ahn somewhere in March of last year, he got his whole A-side to himself with his background. And of course, if you are jonesing for some murder, all of the B-sides are on there as well. And you can swing back and get some murder, because we'll be back with the murder next week. Right, Brooke?
Yes, we will. Because
as soon fingers as crossed.
Done, as soon as we're done, I'm taking a talking break for a couple of days.
Good. Are you vow of silence, not going to say anything?
Yep, I'm taking a vow.
Nice. Well, at least we can text, because I mean that's I wonder if monks who have taken a vow of silence are allowed to text.
I believe they are, because they could write.
Yeah, I guess it's just and it's not like they're Amish. They use electricity.
Right. Exactly. So
yeah, but yeah, if anyone who's listening knows if monks who take a vow of silence can text, hit us up on the website or any of the social medias and let us know. And we will be back to full strength next week with a full A-side, B-side.
Okay. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, Brooke.